Thanks very much, Sarah. Good morning all. My name is Paul Waldridge. I work at the Microsoft partner called Visual. I'm a VTSP on Office 365, which is a virtual technology specialist on Office 365, which means that I can actually go in and represent Microsoft themselves when we're looking to deploy Office 365 into different organizations. So what I'd like to talk to you about first really is just some of the new features that have come out on Office 365 just near enough within the past 6 to 12 months. Some of the new improvements are constantly coming out on Office 365, and sometimes it can be very difficult to kind of to keep up with some of those new features. So I'm going to list a few of the kind of major ones that I think are particularly good. So double the mailbox size for Exchange Online mailboxes. When Office and Exchange Online was first introduced, it was 25 gigabytes. It's now 50 gigabytes of mail storage. For other mailboxes, such as the shared mailbox or the kiosk workers, instead of it being a 2 gig mailbox, now up to 4. The modern public folders in Exchange Online are based on mailboxes, so that they're no longer in a kind of separate database, but they're almost part of a mailbox themselves. They have now been increased to 50 gigabytes as well. There's a wonderful new app that can be installed on iOS and Android devices called the Outlook web app. Basically, this app is very similar to the way that a good client, a good for mobile client, works, in that the application is all kind of self-contained. So rather than your devices connected in using ActiveSync, if people just wanted to collect their emails, then obviously they could do that through the OWA app. Power BI and the mobile app that accompanies that is a major improvement in Office 365. That's really concentrating on business intelligence. This can also integrate with your on-premise servers as well, and be pulling and communicating with any of your databases and on-premise systems, which can kind of bring all of that information together and present it in some very good-looking diagrams and maps and different types of business intelligence. It can be used for you to quickly see, for example, where you might be selling the most product in a certain location, and where perhaps you might want to concentrate out looking at doing more products in other locations as well. Seeing it in a graphical format really does kind of bring it home, and can bring all of those different sources of data together in one place. The SharePoint Online site collection limit is now up to 10,000, so a lot of SharePoint Online site collections, it used to be that was quite a big limiter. Only having around about 2,000 collections was a bit of a limiter for a lot of people going to the SharePoint Online service. That's now been up to 10,000. Exchange Online message encryption service has also been introduced very recently. So for a lot of organizations that are out there, obviously they want to be sending email very securely to some of their partners that are out there. The Exchange Online encryption messaging service was built in, so it comes at no extra cost as well with your E3 plan. Basically, you can, as a user, go in and you can set up transport rules in Exchange Online, which say if a particular email is going to a particular address or it contains keywords, then encrypt it and use the message encryption system. Also coming as well, that's currently in a kind of preview mode at the moment, is two-factor authentication for Office 365. A lot of organizations are obviously looking to beef up their security around Office 365 in the cloud, and security in Office 365 is taken very, very seriously. So the two-factor authentication is actually based on what's known as phone factor. So what this allows the users to do is they can actually register their mobile devices with Office 365 two-factor authentication, which will allow them either to receive a telephone call, a text message, or download and install an application directly on their phones, which means that can just add that extra layer of authentication into there. Office Web Apps is very slowly but surely catching up with its kind of full-fat client that you install on the desktop. One of the key new features that have come out is co-authoring within Office Web Apps, and we're going to be taking a look at Office Web Apps in the demo that I'm about to show you. Link Online now has a spell check functionality. Seems like a very simple thing, but obviously what it can do is, obviously, as you're typing your message along, you might misspell a name. You can simply right-click and get that corrected. You can also now see in the what should be called now OneDrive, because that's commonly known as the SkyDrive, but that is going to be renamed pretty soon to OneDrive. You can see a shared with me view. So a lot of people were kind of having a bit of problems there keeping track of all the different documents that were shared with there. We can now go into our SkyDrive or OneDrive, and now we can see exactly who shared with us and what. It's a very simple view, and again, I hope to show you that in the demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into a bit of a demonstration of Office 365, and I'm going to try and do as much as I can in the time that I've got. So what I'm trying to do is trying to concentrate on some of those new features and cover off some of the main areas of Office 365, which include Link Online, SharePoint Online, and Exchange Online, and try and show you as well a few of those new features that we've talked about. To do that, I've got three of my, as I call them, the usual suspects. I use these guys quite commonly in the demos that I do with customers on Office 365. The Office 365 demo that I'm about to show you is actually based on what's known as the Hero demo, which has kind of pre-populated a lot of the things that you're going to see in Office 365. So Sarah Davis, Katie, and Molly, and how we're going to use Office 365 to get things done. So I'm predominantly going to be using a Windows 7 client here. The typical taking it through on a typical user is to obviously log into their desktop. What you'll find as well is it can be configured so that Link automatically pops up and logs us in here. So it's important to note as well that we don't have any kind of single sign-on configured with ADFS or directory synchronization. These are pure cloud users for the purposes of this demonstration. So in the link I can see straight away in my kind of favorites, my contacts list, or as our American cousins like to call them, the buddies list there, I can instantly see the people that I'm kind of contacting on a regular basis, and I can see their presence. So I can see at the moment that Molly's been away for 10 minutes. Myself at the moment, because I'm on a webcast presenting, is Do Not Disturb. So again, if I attempt to instant message, again, a double click is a default thing to instant message, and try and type in the message, what it's going to do is it's going to tell me, actually, this person doesn't want to be disturbed at the moment. So I can instantly see from the Link client there exactly who's available and where they are. Again, we can set the location here up in Link so that it can be set as if it was in your own office or in this branch office, or whether you're working from home. And again, a little message at the top about what's happening today. We can just type in again there. So the statuses that are appearing to everybody else, they can kind of quickly see what you're working on and what you're doing. The most common thing for a lot of users to do is to obviously bounce straight into their email and start clearing up some of their emails. So what you're looking at the moment is the Office 365 Pro Plus, which is based on Office 2013. So this has been downloaded and installed alongside Office 2010, which is also available. So what this means is that I can run any of the Office 2010 programs alongside having Office 2013 and allow the user to pick or choose which particular version they want to bring up. So say there might be some compatibility reasons or something that that we can't use Excel 2013 for. We don't need to uninstall 2010 in order for it to work on there. It can run alongside, and that's because the Office Pro Plus client is based on a virtual application rather than installing this into the registry and putting a big footprint on the computer. It also allows us as well to easily update. The one caveat from that is that the only program in the Office suite that can't be run side by side is Outlook. Outlook, basically, when we run up Outlook 2013, if we had a 2010 profile configured, it would upgrade it, which means that we can't go back to using Outlook 2010 without setting up a brand new profile. But anyway, going through now, as you can see in there, a lot of this looks quite familiar. You'll notice that a lot of the kind of Chrome and everything has been removed from Office Pro Plus, and this, one of the reasons is it's trying to make it a bit more touch-centric. So it's not the idea that Outlook's just being installed on the desktop or a laptop or a full-fat client like that. It could be installed on a tablet device, a Surface, or anything like that. It's made more touch-centric sort of thing. So we can quickly go through our emails, and as you can see in here, you start to get the preview that you know and love. But what you can do as well now is you can actually reply to the emails actually within there. There's no need to double-click to open the message in order for us to do that. We can just start replying to Sarah straight away. And what we can do as well is if we move to the next one, it will just literally save it as a draft, and we can see quite clearly the ones that have got drafts against them. We can also obviously click on the attachments, and what it's going to do is it's just going to show us a very quick kind of preview of what that document looks like. Again, no need to double click or save it or open it. With the Office documents, the previewer should work just as well. One of the nice new features as well of Exchange Online with Office 2013 is the apps that are available. So in the particular email, you'll see across here that you've got certain applications. So just for clarity, if I open up that message, the Bing Maps application there will actually scan the email and think that it's, hey, I think I found an address, and it will actually present it on there. What we can do from there is we can actually get directions and take it one step further, and again, from where we are on this particular one, again, it would probably be a hell of a walk to America for us from here, or wouldn't even like to attempt it by car in there, but it can show you very quickly the directions to that particular place. Also, in this particular email as well, the suggested meetings can say, I think we found a meeting here. So as Robin's saying there, let's schedule a meeting for Friday at 9 AM at Starbucks. The app can actually pull those out and very quickly click schedule a meeting and put all of those things in for you. You can then use the scheduling assistant to perhaps invite other users. So say, not only do we want Robin and Katie at that particular meeting as well, we also might want Sarah there as well. And so again, what we can do is we can pull in Sarah's, and again, using the scheduling assistant, we can see who's available, and it can actually give us suggestions for that particular meeting as well. So we can very quickly find, using the scheduling assistant, very quickly find the best time to schedule that meeting and make sure that everybody's available. So clicking through again, what we find down here are the little ellipses here. What we have now is like a peek view. So what we do is if we just want to see what's coming up in our calendar, we can just simply hover over it and it will just give us a very quick view of what we've got coming in our calendar. The same with the people as well, all the people that are in the address book, and again I can search for the certain people in that address book. You can see as well how Link is integrating in with Outlook, in that it's showing us the presence of everyone that we're searching for and against there. So for example, with Robin there, we can see that Robin is actually offline. The contact card can appear for that user as well, giving us all the different bits of information and contact information about that. We may decide that rather than sending an email back to Robin about this, if she was online, we could just simply instant message her about that. So when I click the instant messaging tool, it automatically puts in the title, so that when it's appearing to the user, they've got a title, they know instantly what the conversation's about and whether to take it or not. So again, peeking at there, we can see that we've got a task which is due today, which is to finish off the Northwind Traders proposal. And we can see here that we've got access to a Northwind Traders mailbox. But this isn't just any ordinary mailbox. This is actually what's known as a site mailbox. So again, this is coming together, bringing the Exchange Online and the SharePoint Online technologies together, so that the users don't have to be bouncing between different screens in order to get into the things that they need straight away. So in the case of this, what we can see is a very kind of dumbed down mailbox with just a simple inbox, deleted items, and junk email. But what you also find is the documents as well. These documents are actually stored on SharePoint Online. So again, rather than me having to bounce into SharePoint and go to, which I absolutely can do, go into the Northwind Traders and into the documents and see the documents and find the document, I can do it all from one client. And the same applies as well in the SharePoint there. You can see I can go to the mailbox. So it doesn't matter if I'm in SharePoint or if I'm in Exchange or in Outlook, I can get to the things that I need very, very quickly. You'll also see that this user's got an online archive configured. The online archive in there, again, on the E3 plan is unlimited. There's no limit on the archive that can be put into there on the E3 plan, on the Exchange Online Plan 2, which is part of E3. So not only have we got a 50 gig mailbox, but we've basically got an unlimited archive where we can move all of our items in. And the experience of the online archive is very similar as if it was an additional mailbox. I can just double click, I can open it, I can just reply to it in any other way that I would see as well. The online archive is also available through OWA, which I'll show you a bit later on. But as you can see there, what we're doing then, we're just having a little bit of a peek of the tasks there. We can see that we've got to finish off the Northwind Traders proposal. So what I've done is gone into the Northwind Traders, and then what I've done is I've opened up the actual document that I want to do, which is the research and development review. What I find is that I'm on a very tight deadline at the moment, and what I could do with is I could do with a lot of help, or a bit of help just to edit this document. So again, the kind of common way of doing that would be to bounce into Outlook, send a message to all company or to certain people, and then the message would be delivered, you know, and then I might get responses. What I can do now as part of things, I can use Yammer to do this. So the Yammer is really the kind of social networking for the enterprise. So what I've done there is I've gone in as Katie Jordan, and I've just posted a message there saying, you know, just an hour ago, can anyone help me with producing a customer document that I can see? I need to get it out today. I can see that I've had a reply to that message, and Sarah's come back to me and said, sure, I can help out. You just grab me on link when you're ready. So again, all of a sudden, we've just saved about 3 or 4 messages cluttering up inboxes and going all over the place there, and we can get a kind of quick reply. Also, Sarah's told us as well that Molly may be able to help us out on this. So what we've got now is I need to get in touch with these guys. So if you can see that Molly and Sarah are currently away, so I'm just going to wake those guys up. And it's as if now Sarah is pretty much like either working from home or working from a remote location, say she's not on her laptop. This is what Outlook Web App looks like in Exchange Online. So again, it's very, very similar to Outlook on the client, on the rich client. So there's some subtle differences in there, but as you can see there, you can still see the Bing Maps and the suggested meetings. Those types of features are still available in there. You can also see I can get into my in-place archive as well through Outlook Web App, and as you can see there, it's exactly the same as if I was browsing my inbox and things like that. I can search and, you know, I can get to those messages and forward them and do what I like. You also see as well in Outlook Web App that Link is integrated with instant messaging and presence only. So at this point in Outlook Web App, I can receive instant messages, but I can't be doing any of the kind of really fancy things that I'm going to hopefully show you a bit later on with what we can do with Link to help us collaborate and work on. It might be that Sarah is actually working on a tablet device. So when you log into Outlook Web App on your browser, on your supported browser on your tablet, what you find is that it will automatically resize it and again make it much more kind of touch-centric, a lot easier to do. So this is a typical way that the Outlook Web App would display on an iPad or an iPad browser. So it goes into that kind of narrow. So again, clicking through there, again, nice big buttons for our kind of touch-centric devices and everything. I can get into my calendar, I can see all the things that, you know, that I know and love, basically, all in there. It may be that I'm on an even smaller device than that. I might be on a Windows phone or an Android or an iPhone. What it does then is it goes into this kind of narrow view. So again, it's very much like that. I can scroll through, I can see my messages, I can go back. And again, the Outlook Web App will change according to whichever browser it's on. Just to kind of prove that fact as well, you can see here that I've got Firefox here. So this is Molly. So again, Molly could be working on Outlook Web App at the moment. And what we've done is we've just woken up Molly, so her status has changed now. So again, if we bounce back into the client, we can see that the 2 statuses have changed to available. So getting in touch with Molly, all I do then is I just send an instant message, hi. That pops through in our Outlook web app. We're going to accept that message. And again, we can have a bit of a back and forth. What we can do in Link as well is I want to try and bring in Sarah into this. So what I can do is I can bring in Sarah. And once again, what we've got then is an alert in Outlook here. And what we've got now is we've got a 3-way conversation happening on there. And as you can see, everybody can be kind of joining in that particular conversation. So again, what we'll be saying here, so again, you can see my terrible spelling and how the Link web app went to correct me, but I was a bit too quick there. So again, can we work on the document? And again, the back and forth, yeah, no problem, no worries. So again, if these guys were on a full fat client, what we could do this in multiple different ways using Office 365. One of them may be that we might want to just share our desktop. So this would be sharing the desktop similar to how you're viewing this webcast now. At Visual, in previous webcasts that we've done, we actually use Link to actually share out and do these webcasts. So again, we can share the desktop so that you can see, and again, we can give certain people control over that desktop so that one person's got the document edited, the other 2 people are connecting in, reading, putting their views in, and collaborating together. We might decide, well, I don't want to share the entire desktop, but what I might want to do is just share a particular program. So again, we might turn around and say, well, I don't want to share my Excel book or any of my kind of, my email or anything like that. So I can just select the Word document so that that's the only thing that the guys can see. What we can do as well is we can be uploading a PowerPoint presentation. So again, very similar to the one that you've been seeing there, is that we can upload the PowerPoint and we can be sharing that. We can produce a whiteboard. Again, so if we don't have the physical meeting room where everyone can come and meet, we can have the rich meetings online, and we can have all the things that you have, like the projector, the whiteboard, all of that can be configured in Link and all recorded. We can decide to do a poll or a question and answer session, and again, we can share all of this information out. Again, we could invite more people in if we wanted to as well. Unfortunately, I'd like to show you this, but I'm not sure the bandwidth on my computer is unfortunately going to take a web and also a Link sharing session as well. That's nothing to do with WebEx or Link. That's more to do with my bandwidth, and my ISP will remain anonymous. But in the terms of this, what we can also do as well is, if our guys are remote, you can see here that I've got the document open, and I can currently edit in the full Word client. For some of my users that might not have the full Word client open, what they can do is they can go out and they can kind of get to that one. So if I go into my sites and I leave the page, and again, I'm just going to go to the sites here, and what we're looking for is Northwind. I'm sure Northwind Traders may mean a lot to a couple of other people out there that might have seen Microsoft demos before. So here we go, using the search actually within SharePoint Online, I can quickly find the things that I want to get to. So in this particular things, I want to go to the Northwind Traders. Also, as well, you see there, you get a bit of a preview. So rather than you having to click in to have a look, you can just hover over the items and you can see very quickly whether it's the place that you want to be. So in we go into the Northwind Traders, you can see that the Yammer feeds can be configured so that that's the kind of social enterprise. So any conversations that are going on about Northwind Traders can drop into that Yammer feed. We've also got, here the different milestones for the projects, and we can see. So the particular document that we want to be editing is Northwind Traders Research and Development Review. By clicking it, I automatically go into the Microsoft Word web app. And what I can do is I can choose to edit it in the full functionality of Word or just within the Word app. So in this case, I'm just going to do it within the Word app. So what this will do is it will open up. Now, it's important to notice here that we haven't had any kind of loss of format of that document. It doesn't matter if you're editing that document in the full fat Word or in the Word web app, the formatting stays the same. What you also find as well, if I can just move this out of the way, is it will show you that Katie Jordan is also editing. So she's actually editing this document offline. She's not actually doing this online at the moment. But any of the kind of changes that we make to the local one, when we make a change and sync, it will actually warn us that there's changes to be made. If I go in as Molly here and I search for, again, just to prove it wasn't a fake, Northwind Traders, into here, and it's important to note as well that we're using this in a supported web browser, so there's no need for it to be on Internet Explorer. All of the features that we're seeing and everything like this should work in the most up-to-date browsers in all of the major browsers such as Firefox and Chrome. So again, we can see from our peak here that that's the place that we want to go into. We go into there, and what we can do down here is we can also open this particular document, and again we can edit it in the Word app. Now what it will show me is, it should show me now that there's two people editing this document at the same time. So if I scroll down, what I can do is I can start to make, if I then bounce back into the Outlook web app on here, if I go down to there, it will show me what changes in real time when the two people are using the Outlook web app, what changes are being made in real time. And that's because the Outlook web app, basically, every time that you make a particular amendment or anything, it's automatically saved back. One of the common questions I get asked is, what about autosave in Office web app? Well, it's always saving. Every edit that I kind of put in there is always going to be saved back to the server. So we're never going to lose any kind of changes that we've made to the document. So again, just proving that back the other way as well, if we go back to the top, we can see who's making what change. And again, that's the way that we can both all be collaborating on that document in order to get it done. Once we've finished, obviously what we can do then is we can just exit out. Again, there's no need to save. The save as would just save a local copy on there. And again, we're saving all of those back. And basically then, once Katie's got it, she can then decide to share this particular document out either with the customer or, with other people perhaps for a peer review. So going back into the Northwind Traders, sorry, it's already here. What I can do is I can take one of these documents and using using the share feature on here, what I can do is in SharePoint Online I can see a very quick kind of look. I know that's not the same document here sort of thing, but I can have a quick look at the document that's coming through. I can also decide to share this particular document. So what I can do is, at the moment it's already shared out to certain people. But what I can do is I can actually externally share this if the document library allows it, and I can choose what permissions people have. So if I'm sending that directly to a customer, I then can attach a message, and what that will do is it will just set the permissions that you just can view, nothing more. So this is very similar to the way that our kind of personal documents work in Office 365 as well in the SkyDrive. So in the SkyDrive you've got 25 gigs worth of space where you can have your own personal documents. A lot of people relate to it being like their home drive, their H drive, or their My Documents that are redirected to the server. This is very much the same as that. So these documents that we're seeing at the moment for Katie are they are her documents. But what I can decide to do is say, well, actually what I can do is I can just go ahead and share this out with somebody else. So for Molly, I want her to be able to see that or edit that document, and I can just click share. So what it will tell me is that that's now shared with Molly. So hopefully what should happen within a couple of minutes is Molly should receive a message basically that that Katie has shared a document with her, and it should provide her with the link of which she can go and she can get to that document and start editing it. as you can see here. So from here I can basically just click the link and it will take me again straight into the web app sort of thing, and I can see that and I can edit that document on her behalf, but it's still stored in Katie's SkyDrive. We might also decide as well in there that we want to revoke the permission. Again, going back into the share, who is it shared with? We have control over the documents again, going through there. So that's just a very kind of quick peek on there. Also on there was one of the new features I was talking about as well, which was the kind of shared with me. So again, should Molly decide that she's going into her own SkyDrive, if I get into SkyDrive, Molly's SkyDrive there, what I can have a look at is the shared with me folder here. And then basically once it starts to pop in, basically we'll be able to see all the documents that have been shared specifically with Molly. So again, it's kind of bringing it all together. So again, going back, if Katie's now completed that, what she can do, again, go back onto Yammer and say, and again, we can give people a mention like Sarah and people like that, but unfortunately my internet connection is grinding a little bit to the halt there, sort of thing. And we can post in and write a big thank you. Kind of strolling through as well, looking at the kind of power of Yammer as well, we can create groups that are just specific to departments, so anything to do there. So you can see kind of previous messages that have been or previous conversations, I should say, that have taken place on Yammer. So if you're coming into a project or coming into a department and you wanted to learn all about kind of sales offerings, the hashtags can allow you to instantly search and bring in anybody who's kind of tagged or liked and think, you know, about the sales offerings in there. So that's really where the kind of power of Yammer can come along. We can also be doing kind of external things as well. External kind of polls and asking our customers to come in and maybe join in conversations that we're having on Yammer using what's known as external networks. So, sorry, I'm a bit conscious of time here. So that was a very kind of quick whistle-stop tour of some of the features of Office 365. Now, Office 365 is so feature-rich that I could probably dedicate an hour session on each of the things, especially on Link and on SharePoint and on Exchange, on Power BI and things like that sort of thing. So obviously, if you do want to get a bit more information, then just get in touch. Just like to talk a little bit now about, okay, that's great, we've seen it, but how do we get it? And how do we deploy it? So I'll just start with a kind of traditional deployment methodology, which is predominantly around an Exchange server or an Exchange server upgrade. Typical ones that I've done is 2003 to 2007 and 2010 and 2007 to 2010. What you have is you have a kind of pre-deployment, you then have a plan. Obviously, you've got to prepare, migrate, and then go into post-deployment. The idea here is that it could be up to 10 weeks before we're even migrating and consuming the first service, because there's quite a lot of things to be done when you're deploying an on-premise server. Obviously, we've got to size the hardware, we've got to procure the hardware, we've got to set up the hardware, we've got to, you know, or we've got to set up the software on that hardware, we've got to configure the product, we've got to think about, especially with Exchange reverse proxies, we've got to think about the control and the security and everything. And so that's what tends to push a lot of the deployments along, sort of thing. So we don't want to treat a cloud deployment like an on-premise deployment. The way that we do things at Visual really is our kind of cloud deployment approach is first to evaluate. What the evaluate stage is basically an on-site architectural design session where we can get all the relevant people around or involved basically in the Office 365 discussion, and then we start to talk about the kind of the business requirements and the technical requirements, and then we start to map and try and I say lead you basically, or certainly advise you or give our recommendation onto exactly what type of deployment would fit the business and the technical requirements the best. We then start to talk about the kind of requirements and things like that. So it's very important to get your people internally involved in Office 365 ongoing. After that architectural design session, you may decide then to go into a quick start pilot. So a quick start pilot is a 5-day engagement that we offer where you can quickly get up onto Office 365 and start consuming the services and start using them in a matter of hours rather than days. And I'll talk a bit more about quick start pilot in the next slide. We then move on from that kind of pilot stage. We then start to look at doing some deployment design and planning. What we're looking at then is we're very much in a pilot. We want to take and transition that pilot into a production. So we've got no throwaway effort in the pilot. All of the effort that's been put in can be transferred into the production of your pilot users into production. But at this point, we're starting to produce the high-level designs and the low-level designs around things like the identity, perhaps the Exchange or the Link or the SharePoint hybrid system, how it's going to be implemented, the migration strategies and things like that. We then move in, once the high-level and low-level designs have been signed off and everybody's happy with what we're doing, we then go into the deployment and the testing phase, basically. That's when we start to come in. We'll help set up or deploy for you things like the ADFS, the DirSync server, or maybe if you're doing that with identity, we'll help you provision the hybrid servers and help with the migration strategies. Obviously, once it's been deployed, then it's the manage and operate. So that's where visual support services can really come into their own. So you might decide as well to engage with visual support services after, who can offer some services such as the kind of ongoing maintenance. So it might be that you delegate out permissions so that visual support could set you up nice features like data loss prevention, and different transport rules. Perhaps you want to set up all the kind of back-end administration of Exchange, which you might decide to push out to Visual 365 support, leaving your kind of on-premise team to really concentrate on the other kind of business aspects. Also as well, if you decide to go down a particular route where you'll have a federated identity and you've got a directory synchronization server with an ADFS server, an Active Directory Federation server to provide single sign-on to Office 365, what you'll find then is that those services become critical to your Office 365 services, because if they become unavailable or unhealthy or not responding in the way that they should be, then it can affect the logon for that user. It could be to the point where users cannot authenticate to Office 365. So it's very important that these services are managed and maintained, and the visual support can offer that kind of, with the ProMon service, the 24/7 monitoring and support of those services that are on-premise. Also as well in the visual support is the consultancy maximizer. As I was saying at the start, Office 365 platform moves quite quickly. There's new features coming out on a monthly basis, and some of those features that you might turn around and say, well, I like the look of them, but I want a bit of help, or I want some guidance on how we can implement this or test this for our organization. Examples might be information rights management. Information rights management is where I can apply to an email or a document permissions which say, for example, you can't forward this email, or you can't print this email, or you can't print this document, but you can view it only. Information rights management follow the document around, so it doesn't matter if it leaves the boundary of your security control off. The information rights management always kind of checks back into yours to make sure that those documents or those emails that you're sending out are secure. Information rights management is an offering on Office 365. Again, it's one of these that are at a kind of no extra cost. In here, and under the users and groups and things like that, and as you can see, the different kind of service settings as well, the compliancy, are all offered in Office 365 at no extra cost. I was talking as well about the kind of multi-factor authentication in here. Again, what we can do at no extra cost. Again, it's all included. At the moment, the two-factor is only in a preview. Hopefully, at the end of this month, that will go live and will be available for all Office 365 users, but we're waiting to hear on that one. But from here, I can quickly and easily turn on features like two-factor authentication and also the information rights management. Again, this is all included in the cost of the bundle there. So again, selecting Sarah Davis, I can enable for multi-factor authentication, and it can be as simple as that. So that's the idea of the Consultancy Maximizer, is a lot of these kind of new features that are coming along. We can help you out and we can explain exactly what they are and help you integrate them and improve your user's experience or the security or the features that are available on Office 365. So just going into a little more detail about the Office 365 5-day quick start that we offer. Basically the first day is the information gathering. Again, we would go through a product demonstration in a little more detail than we've done on this kind of webcast, basically going through, especially concentrating on those kind of features that you really want to see. Perhaps you've got a real driver towards Exchange Online or Link Online. The next is to set up the pilot. So again, no extra cost. We've not deployed any of the any on-premise servers or changed anything here. We then deploy the pilot. The next stage is to deploy that pilot. So again, we've chosen our pilot users and we start to communicate out that they're going to be part of this pilot and how to use. This is where we get kind of kind of hands-on with the pilot users, starting to use what's known as connected mailboxes. So we don't need to migrate their mailboxes into there. We can use a connected mailbox communicating via IMAP or POP, basically to your on-premise mailbox. So it gives you a great idea of how Office 365 looks and feels in your environment, in your ecosystem. The next day is support. So again, if there's any kind of issues that are occurring, perhaps there's proxies blocking there, we get kind of close to the users as well. We start to show them how to use the different aspects of Office 365 and how they can really get the most out of Office 365. Again, we're not just going to chuck it at them and say, good luck with that, let us know how you get on. You know, we really want to try and get close to them, show them the benefits of that. So usually a pilot, it usually consists of around about 25 users, but we now do have the capability of going up to 250. Fifth, obviously, is a review day. So again, it's gone through a pilot. We review the pilot success. We get the feedback from your pilot users. What did they like? What did they not like? What were the features that they most used? What were the features that we can do? Because again, when we're moving that perhaps into production, can kind of drive the idea of, do you really need a federated identity, or perhaps you could just do a password sync? These are the types of questions that we can kind of translate the user feedback and say, actually, they were complaining because they were getting too many prompts, so we might want to think of implementing single sign-on. So that's the kind of 5-day quick start, basically. And like I say, from the second day, you should start to consume the services on Office 365. From the second day, we can introduce things like the Pro Plus client on there. They can start using Link straight away, using those rich meetings and things like that. So again, an Office 365 readiness engagement is something that we offer as well as part of Office 365. So what this is really is a bit of a health check for your site, making sure that there's any kind of potential issues that might be blockers for you deploying Office 365, such as network requirements, Active Directory compatibility, Exchange versions, things like that, all go into the readiness engagement. That's one day on site for us, information gathering, a second day off site for a documentation, where you receive it's almost like a traffic lighted report. The red needs urgent attention, would be a potential blocker. The amber is kind of, well, we can still work around it, but it's something that you should look at. And green is absolutely, everything's fine from an Office 365. That's certainly not going to be an adheres to the Microsoft best practice. So the Office 365 Jumpstart funding is available for 2 readiness engagements for you guys just being on this call. It's based on a first come first serve. So if you are interested in your readiness engagements, just get in touch with your Bytes representative, and we can arrange obviously a 2-day and fund it with Microsoft funding. Also, very important to note as well that Microsoft will invest in the deployment of customers that purchase 150 seats of Office 365. So basically, Microsoft will help fund the deployment of Office 365 if you commit over 150 seats as well. So for a bit more information on that, obviously get in touch with your Bytes representative. Okay, guys, thanks very much for that. I hope you found that useful. I'm now going to hand over to John.
Great, thank you, Paul. So my name is John Gorton. I'm the Microsoft Licensing Practice Manager at Bytes. I'm just going to spend the next 10 minutes or so covering off some highlights of Office 365 licensing. So Microsoft offer Office 365 in a number of different suites depending on type of organization, from a small home user all the way through to large corporate or government entities. There's various different suites available. We're going to touch on kind of the more corporate space and including the Midsize business plan. So the Midsize business plan offers Office 365 Pro Plus, which is the equivalent of Office 2013 Professional Plus that you would have on premises. It's deployed in exactly the same way in terms of it being a local deployment, but it uses click-to-run technology, which basically streams it down on that first installation. The Office 365 Pro Plus is a user license, and I'll come on to how that's a benefit shortly. The functionality that you get with the online services are Exchange Online Plan 1, so that's your basic email, Outlook, calendar and sharing and so on. Then you've got SharePoint Online Plan 1, and you've also got Link Online Plan 2, which includes instant messaging and also the video and web conferencing. So the Midsize business plan is aimed at 10 to 250 users. There is a hard cap at 300 users. So would advise any customers potentially looking at the Midsize business plan to maybe that are approaching the 250 user mark to maybe look at the enterprise plan instead. So the enterprise plans, there are 3 different enterprise plans, but as Paul explained earlier, the mailbox size is now 50 gigabytes. The OneDrive or SkyDrive Pro is 25 gigabytes, and I'll show you the various different plans in a second. There is also a kiosk worker plan, so the K plan. Now this addresses workers that typically don't have a PC or don't work at a PC in their everyday jobs. So these offer a 2 gigabyte mailbox, also SharePoint access as well, but there's no storage in the SharePoint. But this is ideal for communicating with employees that you wouldn't normally touch from IT. So the enterprise plans, they go through E1, E3 and E4. There was an E2 in there, but Microsoft basically included all of the functionality that was in E2 into the E1 plan. The major differences between E1 and E3 are the fact that with E3 you're receiving the Office 365 Pro Plus license, and you're also including some of the enterprise functionality with Exchange and SharePoint servers. So that enterprise functionality being things like the voicemail, the archiving and data loss prevention, and business intelligence tools within SharePoint. The difference between E3 and E4 is that E4 includes the Link Enterprise Voice functionality, which typically is deployed in a hybrid environment. So comparing the traditional on-premise licensing models, with Office we're looking at a per-device licensing model. So for every device that uses or accesses Office, not where it's installed, needs to have an Office license. Customers that have Office which are licensed with software assurance also have the ability to access Office remotely outside of the corporate premises. I'll explain a little bit more on that in a second. Deployment, traditional deployment can be a lengthy process because it's deployed to the client machine kind of all in one go, whereas with the per user model it's basically streamed down from the Office 365 portal. So with Office 365, it's licensing the users, and it provides the rights to use on up to 5 concurrent devices at any one time. So there are benefits to that if you've got users looking at a bring your own device policy, or looking to use Office at home. Because of the way it's streamed using the click-to-run technology, you can, as Paul said earlier, have Office 2010 or previous versions and the Office 365 Pro Plus running side by side. You can also use the Office 365 Enterprise plans to access on-premises servers. So even if you were looking at buying new Exchange client access licenses, for example, you could benefit from using the Office 365 licensing as an alternative to your traditional licensing. So if you look at the E3 plan, for example, you're receiving the rights to access Exchange Server, Link, SharePoint, and you're receiving the Office 365 Pro Plus license on a per-user basis as well. So if we look at the licensing scenario of kind of the traditional Office licensing, so it's per device. Each device, so in this scenario here, we've got Office deployed onto remote desktop services. So it's running on the server as opposed to on the individual client devices. Each device that accesses Office on remote desktop services here needs to have an Office license assigned to it. Premises or outside of the corporate premises. So this is assuming there's no software assurance in place. That could be quite costly. So same scenario here, but at this time we now have software assurance on our licenses. So those corporate devices inside the corporate premises have software assurance. The users, same users, can go home or can go outside of the corporate premises, can log into their remote desktop session and still continue to use Office without having to have those additional licenses. But still, as you see from the users or devices inside the corporate premises, as soon as a user walks into the corporate premises, an Office licenses is needed. The reason for that is the roaming use rights that you get with software assurance is only available when you're outside or off the corporate premises. With Office 365, because it's licensed on a per-user basis, just individual users need to have a license. So this massively reduces the cost when you've got users using multiple devices to use Office. This is also a benefit for Visio and Project. So if you've got Visio and Project deployed to a Citrix or remote desktop services session to a subset of users, because the traditional licensing is per device, a single user that has access to Visio or Project could in theory log on to their session, which is accessing Visio and Project from any device within the corporation. And therefore, Microsoft deemed that each device needs to have a Visio and a Project license. So this is something that quite a few of our customers get caught out on. Because in Office 365 there is also Visio for Office 365, which is also licensed on a per-user basis, this can overcome the compliance issue. So customers that have existing Core CALs or Enterprise CAL suites and Office, they can buy an Office 365 add-on for very small value, which basically adds on services such as what you saw in the Enterprise Plan E3. This is useful for customers that want to trial Office, but longer than the kind of 30-day period that you can download from the Office 365 portal. So Enterprise Agreement customers can buy the Office 365 add-ons. You can also add on various different individual plans as well. So, for example, you could add on just Exchange Online Plan 1 if you wanted to. There are various different purchasing options, and I would encourage you to talk to your Bytes account manager regarding your unique situation, because there are so many different options available depending on what licenses you've already got in place and what agreement types you're buying through. But just to give you a high level here, you can buy an enterprise agreement with a minimum of 250 users of one of the enterprise plans. So it doesn't have to be all of your users in the organization, but it does need to be a minimum of 250 users. You can also buy directly from Microsoft on the Microsoft Online Services portal. There are kind of a credit card and invoice options available, and the minimum subscription term is 12 months. There is also an open license option now, so with a minimum of 5 licenses you can purchase on an annual basis through open license. So this is designed for kind of small organizations. Or there's a new option, which is the Microsoft's Products and Services Agreement, so MPSA. So this is a new program that Microsoft have recently released. It was launched in December, and it's part of their next generation volume licensing initiative. So moving forward, what we'll see is Microsoft developing new licensing programs as part of next generation volume licensing, and we'll eventually see the retirement of Select Plus and the Enterprise agreements, and also Open in favor of this new MPSA. So through MPSA, online services are available as well as licenses without software assurance. So just to give you a quick overview of the MPSA, in the past we've seen enterprise agreements with multiple different enrollments, also Select Plus agreements, each one requiring its own terms and conditions and agreement paperwork to be signed. With the new MPSA, it will just be a single agreement, and underneath that there will be a purchasing account which will allow you to buy on an ad hoc basis. And then moving towards the end of this year, we'll see the kind of enterprise enrollments moving into the MPSA. Today it is only available to corporate accounts, so academic and government organisations won't be able to take advantage of the MPSA today, but that will be coming. One of the benefits of the MPSA is that the online services points will accumulate and can be pulled together to gain a greater discount level from Microsoft. So that was a very, very quick tour of Office 365 licensing. I appreciate there are probably lots of questions. We're going to open the panel now to a Q&A, and hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions. If you want to, we'll obviously we can arrange meetings with your Bytes account managers to come in and talk to you about your unique situation. But Sarah, over to you to open up the panel.
Thank you very much. So we've had quite a few questions come through already. So I will kick this off. We've had a question from Andrew, who has said, is the app for the iOS and Android free?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's not a paid-for app, the OWA. That can be downloaded and configured for free.
Lovely. And also, is Link included in the E1 package?
Yes, it is. Yes.
And another question we've got is voice being integrated into Link?
Is voice being integrated into Link, as in enterprise voice, or because well,
yeah, Paul. So I guess yeah. So in terms of the E4 plan, Link is included in the license. However, the enterprise voice functionality isn't quite ready as a solely online product. Paul, I don't know if you have any further information about how a Link deployment for enterprise voice would look.
Yeah, so that's usually done at the moment. To give a little bit of history on that, there was a way that you could do a hybrid voice deployment in Link, but it found to be very, very difficult to deploy and very, very complicated to support. So basically the idea is to install Link completely on-premise and have your users completely homed on-premise if they want to use enterprise voice as it stands at the moment. The only type of voice integration that you can get with Exchange Online would be to partner with something like BT Meet Me, where you can have dial-in conferencing capabilities in Link Online. But in terms of proper fully functional enterprise voice, that is located by installing Link 2013, ideally on-premise.
Okay, lovely, thank you. I've got a question here from Keith who says, can users delete email messages which are in their archive? Can archives be made available to others, i.e. HR searches for legal requirements?
Yes.
So in effect, does it support compliance archiving and legal hold?
It goes a little further than that. Yes, absolutely it does. The in-place hold functionality is only available in Exchange Online Plan 2. So those are the only kind of mailboxes that can get kind of put into it on place hold. So if you have a complete E3 deployment, which is one of the best deployments that you can get, you can actually use the newly created eDiscovery Center, which sits in SharePoint Online, which allows you to search mailboxes, archives, also link conversations, SharePoint, document libraries, and bring them all together into one place. So again, unfortunately, we didn't get time to kind of show you what that looks like on the demo. But I mean, if we wanted to, I could show you either now or arrange another quick demonstration.
Gary, we can pass your details on and we can follow up with you and arrange that if that's something that's of interest to you. Another question here, what happens if two collaborators alter the same part of the document at the same time?
The last edit wins. Whichever the last edit was, literally down to the milliseconds, the last edit wins, basically. So it was one of the things that we had a lot of fun with when we were testing this, was kind of deleting each other's work there, kind of in the different edits. But basically, whichever the last timed edit was, that is the one that will win. So again, a lot of people got kind of concerned, and everything was like, well, what if some disgruntled person comes in and deletes there? It's like, well, they can do, but the versioning in SharePoint Online would mean that there should be a minor version that you could revert back to. But basically, to answer that question, whoever made the last edit, whether it's the same line or the same word, the last edit would win.
Lovely, thank you. And using your example, if Katie left the business and has documents in her SkyDrive, how do we get access to them as the business?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that one.
So if Katie left the business and has documents in her SkyDrive,
yep,
how would we get access to them as the business?
So again, that depends on the kind of policy on there. So there's nothing in Office 365 that gets deleted. So it might be a case of exporting all of those SkyDrive documents into a kind of hold area, or again, if it is on a kind of legal hold, then obviously you'd be able to recover those out using the legal or the discovery process.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And one from Phil, would the 5-day quick start work in a Lotus Notes environment?
As long as, yes, it would, because again, the quick start basically is an Office 365 pilot. So in order for us to connect the mailboxes, either IMAP or POP would have to be available externally for the users to connect up their mailboxes. So it doesn't matter if it's in an Exchange environment or a Lotus Notes. As long as it supports the POP or IMAP protocol, then we can do that.
Lovely. And one here from Tony, he says, the on-premise licensing rights of Office 365, does this mean I can install a link server on-premise at no extra cost, or do I need to buy a link server license but do not need to buy CALs?
The Office 365 licensing covers the client access licenses, but you'll still need to buy the actual server license itself. So with Link, it will give you both Plans 1 and Plans 2, which include the instant messaging and also the presence and video and web conferencing for on-premises rights. But it's actually the actual server that you'll need to purchase in addition.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And one here from Gary, how does Office 365 licensing work in an environment where there are static kiosk-type devices that provide shared access to service for generic role-based workforces that may cover the same specific role but over a shift based working platform. Traditionally, this would be device licenses for on-prem exchange. How can Office 365 cover this?
Yeah, so it doesn't really lend itself to environments where you have shared devices with a large number of users. The reason being that it is licensed on a per user basis, so each named user needs to have a license. What you can't do is kind of have a shared generic user and people logging into the same device using that same credentials. So in that instance, I would advise using the traditional Office licensing methods and per device client access licenses.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And one here from Angelo. Do schools still require an OVS schools agreement to get Office 365 plans free of charge for staff and students?
Yes, so it is available, obviously, to do free of charge. You will need to have some form of volume licensing agreement in place to take advantage of that.
Okay, and another question here from Abdul. Have you tested the performance with collaboration of documents, as in all the access and updating speed in a real enterprise while collaborating?
Yes, I mean, like I say, it's the feature has been used. Has been used quite extensively by a lot of the customers who are already on Office 365, so I think there's around about a 2,000 user environment. Again, the update should near enough be within a matter of seconds because it's accessing from the same source basically. So I've not come across any particular slowdown or lag with the edits that are coming onto the document.
Great, thank you. And another question here from Sam. Does Link integrate with Cisco Call Manager?
On-premise Link, this would have to be. Again, not really a telephony expert on here, but if not, then I would imagine that there would have to be a gateway device, like a Sonos gateway device sitting between the two that could communicate. But again, kind of banging the drum for Microsoft there is, could Link replace the Cisco Call Manager? Is maybe the question. But in terms of the integration, I think you would need a gateway between the two devices in order for them to talk to each other.
Okay, lovely, thank you. And the final question that we've got here is from Jeff, who asks, if we had a Link on-premise server, would we need E3 or E4 plans for Office 365 cows to use it?
If you had Link on premises, you could either have Link standard and enterprise cows for on-premises access, or you could buy the Office 365 plan E3 or E4, which would also give you those access rights.
Okay, lovely. Well, that's all of the questions that have come through today. So thank you very much for your time. As I said, if you do have any other questions, please do let us know. You can pop them in the critique form and we will get back to you and answer all of those. And thank you very much for joining us.